When you look at some trailers, you instantly identify the games in question, right? Most of this is due to the art style, which can totally make the difference and save a game from drowning in a sea of clones. In this top 10, we praise those games. The ones where the art style isn't merely a second thought, where the looks are actually a very important part of the game. Now, we're not praising high graphical quality here. No, we're going for the clever touches, the style that makes the game stand out. Soul Worker or Closer Online look awesome and full of style, but they're pretty much just perfect representations of anime graphics. They're stunning, sure, but they're not as imaginative or original as some of the artwork created for the games below. And so, let's begin with our top 10 games with impressive art styles.
FreeMMOStation.com. Number 10.
Trove is one more take on Minecraft, but it's made with gusto, with a personal style that somehow makes it stand out from the rest of the pack. We're not saying that it looks amazing, or that it's the best looking voxel game period. Sky Saga manages to look better. However, you know Trove when you see the screens, and that's one of its greatest strengths. It has this identity, this peculiar color palette, this balance between inspiration and personality that is so difficult to find in a Minecraft style game.
Number 9.
When you think 3D, isometric, chibi-style MMO RPG, which game comes to mind? MapleStory II, most likely. In a risky move that very few studios are willing to take, Nexon decided to not play it safe and drastically change the approach to the sequel of one of the most popular old-school online games. We commend them for that alone. While there may be some similarities to this or that game, such as EA's My Sims, it's another thing entirely when we're talking about MMOs. MapleStory II is different. It's a pretty decent game, and while a Western release was vaguely mentioned, at this time there's no official confirmation of that happening. We're confident it will happen though.
Number 8.
There are a few pixel art online games out there, admittedly, but Duelist is one of the most recent, making some waves after a successful Kickstarter pitch. A turn-based strategy game, Duelist blends stunning, dreamlike artwork with pixel art characters that look amazing, colorful, and perfectly animated. This is pixel art used in a way that benefits a game, not just to jump in one of the latest fads of video gaming, and will probably capture the attention of players who otherwise weren't willing to try a tactical game.
Number 7.
At the time of making this top, Battlecry is in a very doubtful position. Bethesda has revealed that it isn't happy with the game, so it's likely that it will take some time before we see if the project is revamped, or if it ends up being cancelled. It would kind of be a shame though, because as far as visual identity goes, Battlecry looked like it had it perfectly nailed down. It's no wonder though, actually, considering that the art was directed by Viktor Anatov of Half-Life 2 and Dishonored fame. The sad thing is that it's looking like the visuals are lacking a good game to go with it, but hopefully this will change soon enough.
Number 6.
There is nothing quite like Warframe in the free-to-play scene. This is sci-fi done simply right. It looks and feels so slick, so smooth. It's almost like every single detail works in perfect synchronicity with the rest. It's pure visual style that is pretty much unrivaled by any other free-to-play shooter. And oddly enough, it manages to have more personality with its faceless warframes than countless shooters that have their own heroes, such as, let's say, Dirty Bomb or Lawbreakers.
Number 5.
So when everyone's going 3D trying to achieve the most realism possible, virtual reality stuff included, IMC Games is going to go the opposite way with Tree of Savior, and we feel like giving them a big, strong pat on the back for that. Tree of Savior reminds us why we fell in love with RPGs in the first place. It wasn't the millions of polygons in each character, it was just the pure art style. The wonder that the discovery of every new location gave us. You guys know what I'm talking about? There was just something magical about PlayStation and Amiga RPGs that we somehow see in Tree of Savior, with its tiny little characters filled with detail and plenty of bosses that look so different but still in tune with the game world. Tree of Savior is shaping up to be the best new old MMORPG ever made, if that makes sense to you.
Number 4.
We've praised Blade & Soul's art style so many times before that now you're probably getting a bit tired of listening to us yap about it. But do cut us some slack, guys, as we really do think that there are very few games that look like it, MMOs or not. If you pull all those martial arts MMORPGs next to each other, including Age of Wushu, Swordsman, and Revelation, you won't find one that looks as accomplished as NCSoft's Baby. In fact, Revelation Online, it looks a bit too much like Blade & Soul. And we're not saying that's a bad thing, but we also think that it's kind of a coincidence, you know what we're saying? Don't even get us started on Dragon Sword, another Chinese MMO that looks so much like Blade & Soul that it's almost crazy. Anyways, the testament to the visual quality of Blade & Soul is that even a few years after the original Korean release, it still looks fresh and stunning for its North American and European launch coming in January 2016.
Number 3.
We are absolutely in love with the art style of Gigantic. We can't remember a free-to-play game that looks quite like this one, even if we look a bit further, right? The first thing that comes to mind is like Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. Yeah, no matter what the inspiration though, this is a game clearly designed by extremely talented artists, and that's seen in everything from the character design to the animations and above all, the gigantic bosses that are absolutely a sight to behold. Now, our only and very slight concern is that some of the effects look a bit too chaotic, and sometimes it obscures the action, but I guess it contributes to the cartoon aesthetic of the game, right? But let's just hope that it doesn't get in the way of the competitive ambitions of the title. All in all, Gigantic's character design is stunning, and while the environments don't quite share the same striking quality, they do look functional and above all, cleverly designed and filled with intricate details that benefit the mobile-like gameplay.
Number 2.
Underneath Pieria Chronicles' obvious anime skin beats a heart that is filled with ideas, bravery, and everything else that makes it so different from any other anime MMO. It looks familiar, yet at the same time, it is completely unlike other MMORPGs that we've seen before, and it's deserving of its own TV show or freaking manga. And we're betting that Nexon has some cool merchandise in the making for this game. One of the greatest strengths about Pieria Chronicles is just how the devs placed this sweet blonde girl in every trailer, instantly turning her into a recognizable face and the poster girl of the game. However, Pieria Chronicles is a sandbox with a Pokemon twist. So far, the creatures we've seen look as good as every other piece of art in the game. Stunning is an understatement for this art style in Pieria Chronicles. This could be our number 1, but that honor is going to go to a timeless classic.
And number 1.
When Team Fortress 2 was re-unveiled, the drastic visual change surprised many players who weren't expecting it to go from a realistic military look to a stylized cartoon-like approach that managed to stand apart from everything else in the shooter genre. The classes display a distinct personality that pretty much turns them into actual different characters, with an instantly recognizable visual style that works perfectly both in terms of artistic achievement as well as gameplay effectiveness. Team Fortress 2 TF2 is a visual achievement that remains unsurpassed after so many years, and this is a significant part of the reason why this shooter looks and feels just as fresh today as when it was released in 2007. Wow, it's hard to believe that it's almost been 10 years already. And there you have it, 10 games that you can recognize from a mile away. In all these games, there was clearly a talented art team thinking about every detail behind the characters and the environments, and yeah, it paid off. Of course, though, there are other visually striking games out there, and we are sure you have a few in mind. So let us hear about it in the comments below. And until next time.